Hello and welcome back to Magic Carpet. We have not been filming the interior of the boat all too much because there is so much stuff in here now. The big luxury of our previous shed was the fact that we had so much room outside to put things, and not to mention an entire house to live in right next door. So now this boat is a little bit more full of things, and it's made working inside a little bit different. But a little update from our personal lives. Aladino and I are going to be moving soon. We've had a commute to get to the boatyard every day, which has definitely been a challenge, not ideal, but we're moving to a place really close to the boatyard, within walking distance, and that is really going to make a really big difference to the project. So, Aladino put some bungs into these handrails the other day. They have to be knocked down, sanded, and then this is going to be ready for varnish. This one over here has to be shaped and sanded, installed, and then basically what I'll do is I'll just mask this all off pretty well with some blue tape and maybe some paper, and then I'll just be able to varnish only the handrails. Up here, more projects to happen. This whole chest of drawers is going to get varnished, and I think I have decided to varnish rather than paint them. These drawer fronts are already varnished, so I'll just remove those, give this a quick sand, do that. Also over the winter, something I would like to work on, which I said I wasn't going to do, but which I kind of think I might try to do now, is to do the overhead, both with paint and varnish on the beams. It's just, the varnish here is so nice, and the varnish here is so nice, and this looks so different in contrast, and I think it would be really great now to get that done. Is it essential? Absolutely not, but there's a few sort of things going into my decision to maybe try and get this done. First of all, the varnish that we use, it's got a lot of smell. It really clings to like fabric and stuff, and so any moment that we live on the boat and all of our things really are moved on board, it's going to be really difficult to do that. The other thing is that, you know, the aesthetics are really important to me. I do really think that after the amount we've put into this boat and the amount of, quite frankly, tears and heartbreak that it's included for me, if we then move on to a boat which, although very structurally sound, doesn't sort of take my breath away aesthetically, I think it's going to be really hard for me personally to see how worth it that was. And I think I'm willing to put in the extra effort now to be able to move on to a boat that looks and feels good. Alright, so I've just got one more to put some tape on. We just installed this last one over the chart table, so I'll tape that up. But one thing I want to make note of as I go to varnish here, a little technique piece, is because we kind of messed up by not just installing these from the get-go and varnishing everything all together, I want to be really careful with now applying the varnish for two reasons. First, obviously, I don't want to get any drips on this because this was done really nicely. But second of all, I don't want to get too much varnish on the tape surrounding it, because if I do, it's going to be hard to lift that tape and we might end up with weird ragged edges. So I'm basically going to try to treat this as if there is no tape. Be really careful on the edges. It's going to be a little bit painstaking, but we'll get through it. And then hopefully at the end we can lift the tape off cleanly without sort of ripping any edges. It takes so long to tape, so like in an absolutely ideal world you would tape and then untape after every single coat, but I'm not going to do that. That's just too much time and tape. So I'm going to be careful instead and see how it goes.
You fainted on the subway. You're never late to work. Said you couldn't see straight. Your arms and legs went numb. It was early summer. I wanted to have fun.
This definitely is a tricky varnishing job, probably the hardest I've tackled so far because of all the different shapes and planes and angles, and I really don't want to have drips and runs, especially because it's something that you touch a lot, so beyond just the visual, you would really feel any inconsistencies in the varnish. So this is going to be a difficult one, but I'm determined to do it.
Taking off your shoes, I ask you, will you come to me and stop your worrying?
While Maya was working on the interior, I sanded all the primer that I applied last week.
I try and keep it gentle and light. Somewhere you can return. And when you're feeling sweeter, you bring your heart to me.
Yep, you've guessed it. I'm still sanding the primer out here, but to switch things up a little bit and not do the same task the whole time, I also opened the engine panel opening here. Now this is the same cutout as we had before. I never did anything to this section. We just left the opening and it's still there. I just had to enlarge it a little bit to fit our existing panel, which is a little bit bigger. It has more functions. So I did that, and now I am removing all of the hatches. That is because I'm getting down to the details. Yay! And I want to dial in this corner a little bit. The next round we're trying to prime everything evenly. So if you can zoom in a little bit, you can just see that this edge is totally not round yet. So I'm going to do the same on, well, around the whole perimeter here.
All right, first coat of varnish is on. It went really well. That varnish, the PP Extra varnish from Epiphanes, is just so easy to apply. So we'll do hopefully 2 more coats tomorrow if we've got time. 1 in the morning, it's pretty quick dry, 1 in the evening, and we've got the heater going inside. Yeah, I'm happy, and it's the most beautiful evening tonight. So things were going really well. First coat went on really well. Second coat went on really well. I had a great playlist. I was in a good mood. Things were going well, but there's always a bit of a calm before the storm. Hello, welcome to day 3 of varnishing. So yesterday we didn't film much, but I just did 2 additional coats. And I thought things went very well. I mean, they did go very well. It's more just that the back of the handhold is so difficult to get at with the brush, and I thought I was doing it, but upon really close inspection involving a bit of acrobatics to sort of like get your head up under there, I realized today that there's a few dry spots back there. So yeah, I think I'll just do 1 more coat of the PP Extra today, get rid of those dry spots, and then we'll move on to the satin finish tomorrow. But I think I will put the satin finish or rub defect varnish onto the dresser in the across from the head.
Out here, the sanding continues. Now I have done starboard bulwark as well and all the scupper holes, so that is all done. What is left to do is scuff up the gel coat of the hatches, but for now I'm moving on to the exterior. We're doing, I don't know what I should call it now, there's so many names for this, but the strake above the rub rail will be painted. And on this section we still had through bolts holding on the old wooden bulwarks. We removed those, as we all know, and the holes are still here though, so I still need to fair those. And so I'm just prepping the area for the fairing that is still needed, but also prepping the whole area to paint it. I think somebody is gently alluding to the fact that we have bad lighting in their shop. No, first of all, we've got the most wonderful audience, and indeed we don't have the best lighting. And one of our patrons reached out and said, how about I buy you some shop lights? And here they are. Thank you, Chelsea. This will make a huge difference.
So we really, really, really appreciate this gift of lighting. You know, I think a big part of this entire refit for us, and something that we would certainly change if we were to do something similar in the future, is the instability we've had around location and housing and everything else and visas throughout this project. And because of that, it's made us really not want to, I guess, invest or really develop the spaces around us to the best way that they can be. You know, we get lots of comments, why don't you build stairs? And I think it's a similar mindset. We do what we have to do, but we are not seeing this as a long-term situation because it's not. There's so many variables all around us all the time.
Wow.
Light.
Yep, there sure is.
Perfect.
So imagine having 8 or 12 of these up. I'll get to that right away.
So something like this lighting, you know, we had a few workshop lights that we were moving around on clamps as we needed them. But having good lighting just makes all the difference in the world. And I don't know if it's something we would have come to on our own, but now having it sent to us and the decision made by some really, really, really kind person, that is incredible. So thank you.
Moment of truth. Wow! Of course, this needs a little bit of tidying up.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow, look at that light. What a difference.
Wow. Oh, it's gonna show so many imperfections. No.
Don't be silly. But unfortunately, inside the boat, things were not going so well anymore. Inside the boat, I have experienced a super frustrating setback. So yesterday, I really painstakingly applied a coat of satin finish varnish to the handrails, and as you can see, they are still glossy. So I was so careful in the application of this, and I took a really long time with it because it's really obvious if you have the satin finish. If you miss a spot, you see it immediately. So we waited for it to dry a bit, and we came back into the boat, and it was dry to the touch, but still glossy. And I think, with some careful deduction, it's because I forgot to stir the can. And it just must be that all of the satin components sink to the bottom. So I guess I'm happy that it dried and at all, and I can just go ahead and put another satin finish on. But yeah, definitely not how I wanted things to go. I wanted to come in here this morning and admire my work, but instead I'll be doing more work. And yes, I mean, you should always stir. It's not that I didn't stir because I thought I didn't have to. It's just I completely forgot. And by the time I was applying it and I thought of it, I just thought, oh, whatever. It's one component. It'll be fine, but clearly not fine. So always stir. Always, always stir. So yeah, I just had to do it again. You know, I guess this is probably a good example of why cutting steps can sometimes lead to more steps in the future. Not that I sort of intentionally cut the step of stirring the varnish, but here we go, doing it all again. I did do a good job of the handrails, so I don't know if I'll do anything more to them. They might just be done. It was a difficult application to the handrails for a few reasons. First, just the shape. Second, you know, cutting around the edges, like I mentioned. But also, you know, there was a glossy coat of varnish on there, and the varnish applies glossy as well. The satin finish varnish, when it's still wet, appears glossy. So it's really hard to tell what you've covered and what you haven't. You just have to be super duper methodical because it's really almost impossible to see like here I've covered and here I haven't. So yeah, I was really methodical. I sort of came up with a pattern. I would do the top first and then the sort of side and then the underside and then the inside side and then go back over everything to make sure there was no drips. And it turned out all right. The shed is now lit up beautifully, which will make such a difference to basically everything, especially as we're in the darker months of the year and will be for some time. So yeah, just a huge thank you to Chelsea for setting this up for us. The handrails turned out really well, so despite a few hiccups along the way, I'm really happy with the result. The dresser, I think I'll sand and do one more time because I'm not as happy there, but the handrails were the main project I feel like this week, and also the thing that I was the most sort of nervous for getting right, and I think they turned out well. And during this whole week, Aladino has had the onerous task of sanding the decks. He has done a fantastic job on that as always, and yeah, we're really looking forward to better and more beautiful tasks on the decks moving forward. There's just so much work that's happened underneath them, and now we can move towards paint and non-skid for real this time. You know, every step in the decks, I'm like, we're getting closer to paint, we're getting closer to paint, and while that's always true, this time paint really is the next step. So thank goodness for that. And a huge thank you to everybody for watching. We couldn't do this without you. We love reading your comments every single week. Really big thank you for the extremely kind comments about the music in last week's episode. Next week, I plan on incorporating another song into the videos. It's been really, really nice to get back into music a little bit, and thank you for the support on that. We read all your comments, so feel free to let us know what you're thinking. An extra big thank you to our patrons for making this all possible. We publish real-time updates on Patreon every week, so if you're curious what's happening in real time and would like to be involved in some real-time decisions in the project, then head on over to Patreon, and every week we publish exclusive videos there that never get published anywhere else. An extra big thank you to the folks whose names are now appearing on screen for always going the extra mile to make sure that Magic Carpet keeps being produced. And before I say see you next Friday, I would like to extend a special thank you this week to a really, really wonderful person and patron of ours, Conbert Bennick, or Connie as he liked to be known. Connie just recently passed away, and we found out via an email from his son. I did not know his age at any point, but apparently in the obituary that his son sent us, Connie was actually 103 years old. So I would say that that is a life well lived. Connie was an avid sailor and was hugely involved in Aladino and I, in our project that we have going on here. He was fascinated by boat building. He's done a lot of sailing and cruising in his life. And so he would very often send us emails detailing, you know, some of his experiences as he traveled through Europe on board his boat and things that he learned along the way. He was also extremely supportive of Aladino and I in our project, and we're just really, really grateful that he found us and for all the good that he brought into our lives. So, Connie, I hope that there are sailing boats wherever you are. Thank you for the impact that you had on our lives. With that, we will see you all next week.